I even cried with him. Then he said he needed to show me something. I foolishly followed him and he led me to an old warehouse. The moment we stepped inside, it was too late for me. There were 4 men waiting there, and Jake pushed me toward them.
She's all yours. Give me my reward.
I couldn't breathe. I was so shocked. I waited for Jake to say it was a joke, but he never did. My own brother sold me off for $250, a bottle of whiskey and pack of cigarettes. That was how cheap and irrelevant I was to him. I cried and begged and screamed. Hello everyone, my name's Lily, and this is me telling you my story. From the moment he could talk, my brother Jake was nothing but rude. Our parents spoiled him rotten. If he wanted a new toy, he got it. If he broke something, they bought him another. If he threw a tantrum in a store, they apologized to him, as if they were the ones in the wrong. Meanwhile, I, the older sister, was expected to be responsible and understanding. I was 5 when Jake was born. At first, I was excited to have a little brother. I imagined us playing together, sharing secrets, looking out for each other. But the reality was a nightmare. By the time he was 3, he was already a little tyrant. One time, Mom gave him the wrong color cup for his juice.
Are you stupid, Mom? I said I wanted the blue one.
He threw the cup on the floor, spilling everything. I expected my mom to yell at him or something. But of course, she did the complete opposite.
Oh, sweetheart, I'm so sorry. Mommy will get the blue one.
She rushed to fix it while I stared in shock. One day when he was 4, he grabbed my crayons and started breaking them one by one, for no reason. Jake, stop! Those are mine.
Shut up, stupid. I can do what I want. Mom and Dad said everything in this house belongs to me. These crayons are mine. I dare you to stop me.
I ran to tell my mom, expecting her to be reasonable and call him out or something. But the reverse was the case.
Lily, don't be selfish. Just share with your little brother. He's a child.
By the time Jake was 5, he had learned that he could do anything and get away with it. One day, he knocked over a vase and it shattered into pieces.
Jake, why did you do that? You've destroyed it. I don't care if it's destroyed. Buy another one. Haha, this kid is something else.
And that was it. They laughed and moved on from it. By the time he was 10, he started stealing money. Jake, did you take money from Dad's wallet?
So what if I did? He'll get more.
That's stealing. You shouldn't do such a thing.
Well, I did it. Cry a river.
When I told my dad, he just shook his head and laughed like I'd said a joke.
He's just a kid. He doesn't know any better.
I felt so angry, but there was nothing I could do about it. By 13, he was completely out of control. One day, I caught him hitting our dog, Toby. Jake, stop. What is wrong with you?
Move, loser. It's just a dumb dog. Mind your own business, else I'll kick you too.
I was so angry that he was talking to me in that manner. Not that he ever respected me, but how could he threaten to kick me? I went to report him to my mom, and of course, she sided with her son.
Lily, you're so dramatic. It's just a dog. And Jake would not hit you. He was just joking.
Jake wasn't just a brat, he was a monster created by our parents. By the time I turned 18, Jake had already started smoking. I wasn't even surprised. I knew something like that would happen, but I had to try, as an elder sister, to stop him. The first time I caught him, I snatched the cigarette from his hand and stomped it out. Mom and Dad are going to kill you.
Psst. No, they won't. You're being ridiculous.
It was annoying how he was so sure they wouldn't do anything. I decided to be smart about it. I pulled out my phone and recorded a video of him lighting another one. If they saw it with their own eyes, they'd have to do something, right? Well, I was wrong. When I showed it to them, they gave their usual reaction.
Oh, Lily, don't be so dramatic. He's just going through a rebellious phase, see?
Yeah, we all did stupid things at his age. He'll grow out of it.
This isn't normal. He's 16. He shouldn't be smoking at all.
Shut up, loser.
He's just being a teenager. Let him have his fun.
I felt so sick. Soon he started smoking right in front of them. Not a word. No punishment. No disappointment. Then came the drinking. He would return home drunk, reeking of alcohol and cigarettes. Yet my parents thought it still wasn't bad.
Boys will be boys.
You might think it stopped there. Heck, it got worse when he started gambling. I'd find poker chips and betting slips in his room. His friends would come over and exchange wads of cash while our parents were watching TV in the next room. And then came the girls. And then came the girls. He brought random girls home every night, sometimes forgetting their names. By the time I was 22, I couldn't take it anymore. I worked part-time, barely making enough money, but I saved every penny I could. And finally, I moved out. When I packed my bags and told them I was leaving, they didn't care. They didn't even ask where I was going.
That's a good decision. We've been meaning to ask when you'll leave. I'm glad you're wise enough to leave now, because it'll give Jake more space around the house. He needs his privacy.
They didn't ask if I needed help or I would be okay. Just Jake. Always Jake. I left without looking back, but I never forgot the feeling of being cast out by my own family. I never forgot how it felt to realize they didn't want me there. Well, after I left, Jake still didn't stop gambling. It was bad enough that he refused to work or go to college. He spent every waking moment gambling cards, dice, online betting, anything that could make him quick money. And every time he lost, he ran back to mom and dad, hands outstretched like a spoiled little prince. And they gave him whatever amount he wanted, every single time. When their savings started to run dry, did they stop? No. Instead, they sold their house just to keep Jake happy. They downsized to a tiny, cramped apartment and handed over the rest of the money to him. And Jake gambled it all away. Every last cent. By the time he lost everything, my parents were broke. And then the beating started. At first, it was just shouting.
Give me more money.
We don't have any left, sweetie.
But Jake didn't believe them. So he punched Dad in the face. When my mom tried to stop him, he pinned her to the floor and punched her until she bled. I only heard about it later from a neighbor. My parents never called the cops, never fought back. They just let him keep getting worse. Since he didn't get money from them, he started robbing people. Mugging strangers in alleys, breaking into cars, anything to get cash to gamble. He was completely out of control. And still, my parents defended him whenever he was caught.
He's just lost right now. He'll find his way back. Forgive him, please. Don't tell the cops.
They got into debt, yet Jake never changed. He got even more dangerous. And I should have known better when he came to my house one day, looking completely different.
Lily, I messed up. I feel so bad.
For the first time in his life, he actually cried. I should have slammed the door in his face. I should have called the cops. But despite everything, I was still his sister. So I let him in. He told me how he regretted everything he did, and I comforted him. I even cried with him. Then he said he needed to show me something. I foolishly followed him, and he led me to an old warehouse. The moment we stepped inside, it was too late for me. There were 4 men waiting there, and Jake pushed me toward them.
She's all yours. Give me my reward.
I couldn't breathe. I was so shocked. I waited for Jake to say it was a joke, but he never did. My own brother sold me off for $250, a bottle of whiskey and pack of cigarettes. That was how cheap and irrelevant I was to him. I cried and begged and screamed, but before Jake could leave, 2 of the men grabbed him, and one of them pulled out a badge.
You just led us to another criminal, Mr. Jake.
Apparently, they were undercover cops and the deal was all a setup. Jake was immediately arrested, and I had to follow him to the station. Giving my statement at the police station was easier than I expected. The officers were kind and patient. They assured me that I wasn't in any trouble, that I was the victim, and that Jake would be locked away for a long time. When I finally left and returned home, my parents were there, disheveled, broken. It was clear they had already heard the news.
Lily, how could you do this to your brother?
You let them arrest your own flesh and blood. How could you?
My brother who'd sold me off? It was crazy how I was the one getting blamed. I didn't answer them because I was too exhausted. I just walked past them and locked myself in my room. For the next few months, they did everything they could to fight his sentence. Hired lawyers, wrote letters, even stood outside the courthouse pleading for mercy. It didn't work. Jake was eventually sentenced to 10 years. I thought my parents would finally accept reality, but I was wrong. Instead, they started working menial jobs, cleaning, waiting tables, whatever they could find, just to send him money. They were broke, exhausted, and humiliated. But did they ever stop? No. They continued to spoil him even while he was in jail. 1 year into Jake's sentence, he overdosed on drugs and died in his cell. When my mom called me, she was hysterical.
Lily, he's gone. Jake is gone. Oh, my baby, I wish you died instead. I hate you so much. You killed him.
I cut her off immediately. No, you and Dad killed him. You never disciplined him. You never stopped him when he did anything bad. right from when he was little. You let him destroy himself, and now he's dead. This is on you, Mom. Don't you dare pin it on me, because that dead son of yours was so cruel he sold me off for $250.
Lily, please, don't speak so ill of him now. He was your brother. You're both my kids.
No, don't call me your daughter now that your golden son is dead and rotting in hell. I don't have a mother anymore. Consider yourself childless, and please don't call me again. And then I hung up. I didn't go to Jake's funeral because he didn't deserve it. Instead, on the day of his funeral, I packed my things and moved to another town. A town where no one knew me and where I could finally start over. Fortunately, a year later, I found love. Dave was kind, gentle, and patient. He listened when I talked, wiped my tears when I cried, and never made me feel like a burden. His family welcomed me like I was one of their own. For the first time in my life, I knew what love felt like. When we got married, I felt whole. A few weeks later, I heard that since money was tight, my parents ended up investing in a business with the promise of huge returns, only to realize it was a scam. They were broke and had to beg on the streets. After a while, Dad was hit by a car while crossing the road, and since they never had money for treatment, he later died from complications. Mom is now alone, begging on the street, serves her right. When we had our first child, I knew I had finally broken free from my past. I made sure my mom heard about it. I wanted her to know I was happy. I wanted her to know I had a family, a real one. But I never let her see me or her grandchild, and I know that hurt her more than anything. Thanks for watching.